Hey, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Amanda, and this is Beyond a Ballot.
powered by DoorDash. Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond a Ballot. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Rach.
Hey, I feel like we're doing like an old school throwback to the you and me conversations that I love so much. So I'm really happy about this episode. We have no shortage of things to talk about today. Specifically, more things happening with the United States, big leadership conversation in British Columbia, and many other things on the federal and provincial agendas. But how are you doing? What's going on?
Well, but my favorite topic of all
Oh,
is the fact
is
that we're throwing a little soiree at the Calgary
yes,
Stampede.
we are.
By the way, this will be my first go at the Stampede.
I can't even believe that.
I know.
How, as somebody who has been in politics for so long, have you never been to Calgary for Stampede?
It's the saddest thing. And also, like, I love everything Stampede-esque. So I'm getting
you gonna
my
buy
boots. Of
Oh
course.
my God.
I'm going to show up in boots. I might have a hat. But to all of our listeners, especially those in the Calgary area, we would love for you to drop by our Boots and Ballots party. You can find that information on our Instagram feed. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. And this is the second time that we're doing this. And the thing that I love about our party, and you'll see how this stands out, because it's the Monday afternoon and everybody's been going hard for the weekend. Everyone just wants to talk to people and hang out and not have the loud music and, these wild times. Ours is really about networking and bringing women together and people to celebrate women in politics and business. And we're so fortunate to get so many really awesome and amazing women in that room. So I'm really excited we're doing it again.
Me too.
And
okay,
I'm excited that you're going to be there this year.
I know. I'm excited too. We're going to have a good time.
Duo.
We're going to chronicle the whole thing.
Exactly.
Let's stay over on your side of the country.
Okay,
so
here we go.
We'll move from Alberta. We'll go over to BC. Rach, tell I feel like you've been working around the clock. You had a big stake in the leadership race.
I did.
You did not get the outcome you wanted.
No.
I need to hear all of the things. But first, start by telling everybody what was happening out in BC.
So for those that haven't heard, the BC Conservatives, which are not a new party, but this is the first time that they have had seats in the House. And not only do they have seats in the BC legislature, they're actually the largest opposition party in BC's history. So they won that in 2024 after a merger between BC United, formerly the BC Liberals, and the BC Conservatives. So that was a very dramatic August that we had. Things were happening in Ottawa with Trudeau at the time too. And it was just like the summer. We called it our poly girl summer because there was so much going on. But they didn't make government. Now we sit with a 1-seat majority for the NDP at the start of the last session, at the beginning of September 2025, there started to be rumblings that perhaps John Rustad should resign. Those degraded to a point where, we talked about on this podcast, what does the Constitution say in terms of getting rid of the leader of the BC Conservatives? Well, he had to be incapacitated. That was basically the bottom line. The BC Conservatives decided to put out a press release saying their leader is professionally incapacitated, which was an interesting term and a way to work that constitution. Ultimately, in December, while wearing a Christmas tie, John Rustad resigned as leader of the BC Conservatives, which launched us into a leadership race. And it was just craziness. I mean, people were coming out of the woodwork saying, I'm going to run, I'm not going to run. And that big scramble to put together campaign teams began.
How many candidates were running in this leadership race?
So initially, it started with 11. that actually entered the race. Soon after, they started peeling off. I believe that Warren Ham was the last one to drop out, and he did one debate in the race. Nobody else made it to that debate stage of those that dropped off. But he was the final one to drop off. And then ultimately, we ended up with 5 competitors down to the finish line.
Okay. And who were they?
The 5 were Carrie Lynn Finley, who was ultimately the winner, and we're going to talk about her. Caroline Elliott, who came very close. The split was 51-49, so could not have been closer. We had Ian Black, a former BC cabinet minister under Gordon Campbell. We had Yuri Fulmer, who is a businessman. He owns a bunch of A&Ws in British, maybe across Canada, but definitely in British Columbia. And then my personal favorite, Peter Millibar, whose campaign I worked on day and night for 6 months. And I think the world of Peter. And unfortunately, we came in 5th, but I know. You know what? When the number came up, I heard the number and I thought, oh, who could that be? I actually didn't think it was going to be Peter, but it was. And that was like taking a bullet.
Rachael!
I know.
Oh, no.
Because you have to understand, for people that have never...
What was the number?
It's a points system. So every riding gets 100 points.
Okay.
I think we had like 970 something. I thought for sure we'd make it over 1,000. But so I believe the first ballot was a couple of thousand for Carrie Lynn and Caroline. But it was surprising, but not in that. During the campaign, we created this thing that we called the home video, where we made the decision that we were going to talk about being a big tent party between federal conservatives and federal liberals. And the video went out and it was Peter saying, if you believe that we need, better healthcare and a better economy and all of these baseline values that he carries, then you have a home in my party with me as leader. And we knew that could either go one of two ways, that the new Conservative Party had become so more to the right that message wouldn't land, or it would encourage people that were in the center that wanted that centrist leader to buy memberships and vote. And ultimately, I mean, the result is that they didn't. And so he was polling really well in terms of who would win a general election against David Eby, the current premier. But when we made that decision, we knew that it was a risk. And ultimately, sometimes in politics, those things don't work out for you. But you have to try things and you have to really try and carve out a lane for yourself in a leadership race. And I can honestly say, I am so proud of Peter Millibar. I am so proud of the campaign that we ran. It was the cleanest, most ethical campaign. And he has such an incredible value and integrity that I'm, regardless of the outcome, he's a winner in my mind.
Okay. Tell us about Carrie Lynn Finley. The woman who won.
Carrie Lynn Finley is super interesting in this race. I have to say, for the majority of the race, people were looking at Caroline Elliott really as the front runner. And when it started, a lot of the conversation was around Peter Millibar and Caroline Elliott, which it kind of evolved to the point after the debates. People started saying, hey, maybe this lady knows what's going on. Maybe she's the person that we do want in Victoria. She is very smart. She is a litigator, a lawyer. She's a great orator. Her message is very strong. But Carrie Lynn Finley, was unapologetic about the fact that she was part of the right side of this party, of this big tent party. And she took on some of those social issues and put forward a very right-leaning agenda. There are, as evident from the outcome, a lot of people that responded to that and that really want to see British Columbia go back to more of those very small C conservative roots. But there are also those of us in the center that are wondering if we can align with that, and hoping that she will use the opportunity to unify the center right in BC. She's a former Harper Conservative cabinet minister, Minister of National Revenue. And so,
Carolyn Finley?
yeah.
Oh, I don't even remember.
She's BC based. Maybe that's why. But she, she has a long history in federal politics.
You know her from your Harper
So
days.
she came in a little bit after me. I know of her, and like obviously we met many times during this race, but I never worked with her during the Harper days because she came in a little later.
What controversial views did she hold, if any?
Depends who you ask. But
controversial to
I think to you. I think there is a lot of controversy around those social issues in some respects. I mean, she'll tell you that it's not controversial. That's her position, and that's fine. But questions around DRIPA, the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Persons that BC adopted, that was a huge part of the BC Conservative leadership race. And at one point, she actually accused Peter Millibar of not being able to vote properly on DRIPA because his wife is Indigenous. And there was, it was horrible. It was terrible. I love Peter Millibar's wife dearly, and I felt just awful that she even came up in this conversation, got entangled in this garbage. But, that was a big moment in the campaign, and a lot of pushback on that from a lot of people, but obviously also a message that resonated in British Columbia. So SOGI, sexual orientation, gender identity curriculum that are in our schools were a big question in this race too. A lot of those social issues, though, that's where her voter base came from, the right, and that's what the outcome was. I mean, us as centrists, we have two choices right now in this province, and I think there's a lot of people that are soul searching. Do we rally behind the new leader and hope that she's able to unify, or do we look to see, is there a centrist solution here? I don't know that there is that appetite right now, because I think the goal is to win government and to stop David Eby and the NDP. People are tired of them here, but it's been a lot of soul searching.
Do you know what it's called?
What?
Rich? Becoming a liberal. Okay, for everyone listening, you're gonna love this. I tell Rachael all the time that she's a closet liberal. She denies this. Says it's not, but I mean, deep in her heart somewhere, it's a big red bleeding heart somewhere in there. I'm sorry you didn't get the outcome you wanted. I was thinking about you. I saw the numbers come in, and I thought, because I know what it takes to be part of these leadership races. They are exhausting. Yep. They are all consuming. And you really put your heart into it, and it can be heartbreaking on the floor to see those numbers come in and realize that all of that hard work did not pay off. So, but at the same time, you're also a commentator, so you also had the chance to really talk about this in BC. Absolutely. A lot of airtime, which was great, because I think that whether or not the outcome was what you wanted it to be, I think some of the soul searching questions that you have right now are ones that others have. And the fact that you have a platform to share them gives people a place to go, maybe to think about it and converse about it, have dialogue.
Yeah, you're right. And I did do a lot of media right after the race, and that was an amazing opportunity. But I think that the number one message for anybody listening from British Columbia, or feeling, like they might be politically homeless at this point, is that unity around beating the NDP and changing government is so important right now. And so I think everybody needs to take a breath and see what kind of team Carolyn Finley is going to put together, and what kind of message she has to try and bring in supporters that are in the center like me. That'll be critical in the next week or so. So I'm also excited to see what she does.
I say Rachael for leader of the new BC Liberal Party. You heard it here first.
Could you imagine? Oh, Lord. Yeah.
We have good fun together. Okay, we're gonna change channels now. As fun as this was, we're gonna move federal. We're gonna take this conversation over to our least favorite topic, but probably most discussed, and that's Trump.
Yeah.
So as we know, Cusma talks are back on the table. Dominic Leblanc was in Washington to have those discussions. We'll talk about his view. We'll also talk about the fact that Trump has now slammed another 10% tariff, the latest move by the Trump administration to preserve its tariff agenda after the U.S. court struck down some of the previous trade measures. So you'll remember that the Supreme Court struck down their blanket global tariffs. So they were looking for another way around it. They found it. They found it in the name of forced labor. So for months, they've had an investigation. They investigated 60 countries, Canada being one of them. They concluded that all 60 countries failed.
Oh my God.
Based on benchmarks that are unclear. And so these tariffs are now going to be imposed. Of course, this has very little to do with concern over forced labor and everything to do with circumventing that Supreme Court ruling. Crafty. But alas, here we are. So
here we are.
Your thoughts on the tariffs, the talks, and everything in between.
I almost feel bad for Dominic LeBlanc because yesterday when he came out and did his press conference and he was like, we're still fighting, things are moving, I promise, in the background. And then hours later, more tariffs come out. It's just the worst. But here's the thing. How do you plan for that? I mean, as political staff, it's impossible. And quite frankly, we saw the 51st state being talked about again, a year and a half later. And I'm just dying to know what PMO is thinking about this. There is no win for you when your opponent is this bombastic.
Absolutely. I mean, what's striking is that the rationale keeps changing, right? First the reason for tariffs was fentanyl, and then it was trade deficits, and now it's forced labor. So the challenge for Canada isn't responding to one tariff at a time. It's responding to this permanent state of uncertainty from Washington. The only thing that's certain is that nothing is certain.
That's
right. And that everything is predicated on Trump's mood of the day. Imagine how impossible that would be at the negotiating table. That being said, to go back to your point about Dominic LeBlanc, who did his press conference, and what were the words that he said? He said things were moving positively. He was very measured in his response to media. We took it as, listen, the talks aren't stalled. They're moving. They're at the table. Positive is a better word than negative.
That's baseline. Yeah.
This is baseline. And then maybe some small progress is being made.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that too far?
The uncertainty is really what it comes down to for me, because think about how many people in this country, in Canada, depend on the certainty of all of these different sectors, depend on the certainty of their government saying, here's what's going to happen. And for those that don't know, Cusma was up for renegotiation July 1st. And so a lot of people thought that July 1st was going to be that deadline. And so this, as crazy and uncertain as this has been over the last year and a half, we probably could look to July 1st for some kind of indication. Well, here we sit at the beginning of June, a month before. There's very little indication on how this is going to go. The United States and Mexico sent a letter to Canada asking. Dominic LeBlanc wouldn't explain what was in them, but we do know that Canada asked for Cusma to be renewed for 16 years so that we wouldn't come back to the negotiation table for quite a while. I don't know if that's realistic. Like, I don't do international global trade agreements, but it seemed like quite a big ask. And I wondered if that was part of the play, part of the negotiation tactic. I'm sure it was. But Dominique Leblanc also came out yesterday and said that he is eternally optimistic. And I just felt like that was kind of, I don't know, deflating, because
Oh, you did?
yeah,
Why?
I know optimism is usually encouraging, but I felt bad because I kind of knew that something was going to go off the rails. This would not work out well by talking about optimism during that press conference. It's like anytime the White House sees that we are making some big proclamation or statement, or trying to keep rally Canadians, like to keep going, it's like, boom, something else happens. And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
And so I don't know, eternally optimistic probably wasn't the word that I would have used, I think.
What?
Did
I
you
mean,
like
I
it?
like that. Yeah, because I feel like optimistic. I mean, what's the alternative? Eternally pessimistic? Like that would be the worst. I just feel like optimistic. At least we're heading in the right direction. No,
yeah, we can say that.
you're not feeling
No,
it.
I feel since
Rachael is eternally
I am
pessimistic
eternally
about this trade
pessimistic.
negotiation.
I am realistic, I think, is the word that I'm looking for. I just think I feel so badly for like the investment that we normally would see in Canada, like just fleeing because of the instability here, for the people that work in automakers or steel producers, like so many pillar sectors in our economy that like just don't feel optimistic. They don't. And so yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice of words. And now a word from our title sponsor, DoorDash. We're proud to share that Beyond a Ballot continues to be powered by DoorDash. Just like we go beyond a ballot, DoorDash goes beyond delivery. This week, we're sharing the story of a Toronto institution, Pi. The goal has always been simple for the team at Pi: make their food and experience accessible, however people choose to enjoy it. They kept hearing the same thing from customers, craving for their Northern Thai dishes at home, whether after a long workday or during busy family routines. DoorDash has helped make that a reality. Bonita, Pi's marketing manager, has seen DoorDash become more than just a delivery platform over the years, helping bring Pi's food, culture, and experience into people's homes across the city, maintaining the quality and consistency you would expect while dining in. Most importantly, it's helped Pi stay connected to loyal regulars and reach new customers, becoming part of their everyday routines, not just special occasions. Bonita's story highlights how DoorDash can help restaurants like Pi grow their reach while staying true to what makes them special.
Well, and some other things have happened since the 10% tariff went down. And one of those things elicited a positive response from the US just a few hours ago. And that was, we're getting into the weeds a little bit, but it matters to all of you. It matters to you, it matters to your pocketbook. It matters to what you consume and where you consume it. And that is that a few weeks ago, the CRTC ruled that large streaming companies that we all use, Netflix, Amazon, Disney, and others, should increase their contribution to Canadian content from 5% of Canadian revenues to roughly 15%. And that was going to be through a mix of spending and funding obligations. We like that. We like strengthening Canadian culture. The goal was to generate more money for Canadian Indigenous and French language programming, and that would all come under the Online Streaming Act. Well, what do you think happened? The streaming companies, US industry groups immediately objected, and that's to put it very calmly. They argued that the rules were unfairly targeting foreign streamers and it could lead to higher consumer prices. Ding, 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 ding. So the issue became a trade irritant with Washington at exactly the moment that Canada is trying to manage tariffs. What happened today? Carney government stepped in and told the CRTC to revisit parts of the decision. Now, the Carney government is now facing both praise and backlash. So we see Mark Miller, he's the culture minister, and he's talking about things like, we're concerned about potential price increases for consumers, especially because things aren't so affordable right now. There's an affordability crisis. And we're worried about the risk of U.S. trade retaliation during this really sensitive time of these talks, which we've just been discussing. Interestingly, the U.S. came out just a little while ago and said, progress, Canada, you're making the right choices here. So curious what you think. Where do you lie on this culture / affordability / tariff discussion?
Listen, anything that we can do to make life more affordable for people right now is like my number one issue that I'm going to champion. We've actually seen Mark Carney take a different position to try and help with the negotiations in Washington. We saw a few months ago, a story came out saying that we had scaled back on some of our retaliatory tariffs to try and ease that pressure on the negotiation. Ultimately, I don't know. I think Canadians are giving Carney the benefit of the doubt when it comes to him knowing what needs to happen to make this happen. I just think we need to see progress soon, and he needs to get something done. But again, like, how can you when you have this guy in the White House? So I'm torn on this.
Yeah. And like, listen, the very nature of a negotiation is that there's going to be trade-offs.
Right.
So it's unrealistic to think that we can be at the table and not put anything in the window. We have to. And if the only thing that people can point to right now is the digital services tax, we haven't had to give up on, I don't know, supply management. We haven't had to give up on our sovereignty. We haven't had to give up on our resources. So one tax measure is, listen, and here's the thing that I find challenging about this one. I want to strengthen Canadian culture. I want more Canadian content. Look, we're a Canadian podcast, right? Like these things matter greatly to our identity, to our voice. At the same time, though, it is a negotiation.
Yes.
And I think that I agree. I think Canadians have given this government a lot of rope. I think they've given this government a lot of grace. I think they recognize what a volatile figure Trump is, and they recognize that Carney is the grown-up in the room. So, it's not over till it's over. And all we can do at this point is, I think, take them at their word. I think one of the criticisms that has been fair of the government is that I think people feel like there's a lack of, not necessarily a lack of transparency, but a lack of information.
Yes, exactly.
And that can create a vacuum, right? And what fills that space? So I do think that if I had a criticism, I would say that it would be wise of the government, without giving too much away, because again, it's a negotiation, but it would be wise of the government to communicate to a degree to Canadians so that we're all along for the ride. So they maintain this incredible backing that they have. Leger had him at 50%
I know.
Today.
It's crazy. But I feel like Mark Carney's just like, I am a CEO and that's how this is going to go down. Because when a CEO negotiates like these deals, they're not telling the whole company what's happening. So I think he's like really leaning into that identity and just taking it on. But yeah, I agree. Of course, we'd love more information. Maybe he'll give another speech and tell us something. But like, what's the red line? Honestly, with Cusma, we're coming up to that July 1st date. They're saying it's not going to be negotiated. Like, when do we start feeling bad about this? Or like, how do we change our trajectory in the country? I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. What do we know is what can we control though? If you can't control Trump's response, you can control how Canada responds. We continue to diversify our trade relationships.
Exactly.
We look to get our resources to market. And I think in the absence of being able to negotiate a firm deal with the US right now, This government is doing what it can to present proposals, defend Canadian interests, and look to diversify our own trade relationships. I don't know that there's I haven't heard an argument, a compelling argument to be doing something beyond
Right.
that. So this is,
that is a compelling
this is where
argument.
we're
Maybe
at.
I am a liberal.
I mean, I keep telling you.
Okay. Well,
guys, come out to our party because there could be a big announcement.
A big announcement.
I'm going to bring an
Oh
extra
my
pair
God.
of red boots.
Oh, really? Do I get a new jacket?
I might. You might get a new some swag, some liberal swag.
An intro from Mark Carney himself, potentially.
Never know.
Okay, but let's turn to 11 of the NDP instead, because John Davies, who is my member of parliament here in Vancouver, is someone who I rarely agree with. I'll put that on the table. But he announced this week that he is going to table a bill that would make it so that you cannot cross the floor in the House of Commons without first sitting as an independent. This is something that I have talked about on this show, on every show, when we were going through all the floor crossings in Ottawa, is that it really bothers me that constituents elect a person, and in this country, oftentimes you go to the ballot box and you vote for the party more than the person.
Yeah.
And then you decide as the member of parliament, you're not down with the party anymore, so you're going to go to the other one. That drives me bananas. And so I think I agree with John Davies. Clip that, because that might never be said again.
I mean, have we gone so? Is she really NDP on the inside? I don't know. I don't know where to go with
I
this.
think good for Dawn for putting forward this bill that everyone was talking about months ago and saying I'm going to just do it. Let them debate it in the House of Commons and see if it passes. But it feels like a really good argument for democracy. Do you agree?
I have two words. Publicity stunt.
Okay.
Okay. Don Davies.
Oh, sorry, Don. Tried to give you a boost there. Really?
I don't know. Listen, this is the way it has been. We're so up in arms because it's happening right now. It's happened since the beginning of time. Floor crossers. This is today, now we're so, we're so disturbed by this phenomenon. It's please, this has been, this isn't brand new. I think that if you don't do a good enough job as an opposition leader to keep your people, that's on you. And if there's a more compelling ice cream across the street, so you leave your little shop and you walk over to get the yummier ice cream, well, they're doing a better job of selling ice cream.
Doesn't it?
Right?
Is your member of parliament is a liberal, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So if you voted for your member and they went to Ottawa and you woke up in the morning and you heard that she was crossing the floor to the Conservatives, wouldn't you feel as a voter, as a longtime liberal, that you'd been robbed of your vote?
Yes. And I feel like if it happened not once, but twice, but 3 times, but
how many
4 times, I'd stop looking at the person and I'd start looking at the leader. What is happening that 4 members of the Conservative Party have crossed in a matter of weeks, months, weeks of each other, months of each other? I think that it's really easy to go, maybe we should just put something in place so that they're not allowed to do that, instead of maybe we should look at what the actual problem is here.
Interesting. Yeah, I still give it to Dawn. For me, it's not really, I mean, for me, it's not political. There was floor crossers. I get it. It's more the democratic issue. And quite frankly, I will say, I was in Ottawa when we've had floor crossers from all parties, and it doesn't make a difference for me personally what party you've crossed from. It's always bothered me that voters don't get a say.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I mean, that's pure.
procedure. That's my jam.
I know.
What else happened this week? Anything exciting?
Well, I don't know if we've talked about this yet. In Ontario, have we talked about the
We have
Ontario Liberal Party
leadership.
race?
Let's talk about that. Holy moly. What is going on?
So, it's been fun out in Ontario. So everyone knows I am an Ontario Liberal. That's where I started.
I know.
My first job was working for the Ontario Liberal Party, and I was a proud Ontario Liberal. But things are different for the Ontario Liberals now than in my heyday.
A little bit over the last.
It's been a rocky ride. So they're the third party. I don't even think they have party status anymore. Do they? Maybe they do. I'm not sure.
I think they lost it under Bonnie. Yeah.
I think they might have lost it. So sad. Anywho. So they're trying to build back. They have a leadership race that has kicked off, and it's getting into high gear.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, full disclosure, is running in that race. Mr. Davie Bains, who was a former minister federally. He has made the leap into provincial politics. I like his message, and he's got me excited about what could happen in Ontario.
Did you ever attend Bainsmas when he was a federal MP?
No, I did not.
It was the best.
Did you?
I did. It was the best Christmas party on the Hill. Every year he threw Bainsmas, and I'm this young British Columbian. And I'm like, who is this guy? And why does he have such a great party? Well, his former staffer, my dear friend Matthew, threw it with him every year. And it was quite the delight. And that's really actually how I got to know Navdeep Bains. So it's nice to see him in the race. We were talking about Navdeep on Power and Politics last week. And I thought to myself, how old is this guy? He's been in politics for a very long time. He was very young when he was first elected, which I didn't realize. So that's pretty cool.
He's just like he's salt of the earth. He's the real deal. I think both of us have been lucky enough to work with a lot of politicians, and both of us, I think, can recognize politicians who are in it for the quote unquote right reasons. And he's and I think that he's going to inject some energy and excitement into this race, into the party, who really needs that. So I'm very excited about what is to come. I hope that we'll get him on our podcast at some point, and we'll get to ask him directly, because it's no small feat to run against Teflon Man Doug Ford in Ontario.
Oh, Dougie. But we also,
although there's been some dents in that armor lately.
He's not having a good run this week. But we would be remiss to not talk about Nate Erskine Smith, who was also going to run for the Liberal leadership. He ran in a by-election. He lost by, I think, a few votes. He was a federal,
like 16 votes
16. It was super close. He was a federal MP, and I think he resigned his seat. Did he? Or he's still sitting? Can't remember. But he went and challenged that 16 vote outcome. The court said, nope, it's going to stand. And now everyone's wondering, is Nate Erskine Smith still going to run for the leadership because of all this drama with the by-election?
Yeah, and I thought he was pretty soft on his response to that. And Nate Erskine Smith, for those of you who don't know him, he's a very vocal, sometimes described as like kind of rogue, maverick personality. So he's not a quiet individual. He definitely lets you know where he stands. And I thought his response to "Will you run?" seemed very muted. So I'm getting the sense that he won't, but stranger things have happened. But he sounded like it was going to be a no.
That's so interesting, because they're really, I mean, from the outside, we kind of have the flip thing going on here with my leadership race out here and yours out there. But it's been so interesting, all the news media around Nate Erskine Smith and this by-election, and it kind of felt like he was a shoo-in to win it. And I think the guy, he lost to like a pizza owner, like he owns a pizza shop, Nate Erskine Smith had this like long political career. So It's been fascinating.
I love what we've covered today. We went from our party at the Stampede, the BC leadership race, Trump and his antics, Netflix and what we're paying. And now we're ending up with the Ontario leadership race. We have like crisscrossed the country. This has been a fun one.
I love when we do these, just you and me. They're my favorite.
Me too. Me too. So I think that's it. I think we've covered it all.
Well,
until next time.
We'll leave it there. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening. New episodes air every Friday.
Subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and find us at beyondaballot.com.